It's almost like betting the stock market. The good part about it is you can take a bet today. In 2 or 3 days, if you nail that bet, you can be able to cash out, Joe. Like you just hit a heavy stock. Like you go into Sun Microsystems or whatever it's called, and you buy into it. In 3 days, you can sell it for a massive profit. Do you understand these markets, Joe?
I do understand the markets. It's amazing how some of the predictive markets seem to have the answers before the test.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
8 3-minute rounds. The gloves are 10 ounces. And Anthony Joshua weighs like 250 pounds. So I'm not really sure how this is going to end up happening. But this is one of those. Normally, I don't give credit to the Paul brothers. And, I give them credit for being great on social media and creating a lot of buzz for the sport. I give him credit for getting in the round with Anthony Joshua. This is not like a Mike Tyson fight when Tyson's 60 years old.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Travion Henderson and a few others have the Pats at 9-2. Is excellence back in New England, Joe?
Excellence is back in a big way. Mike Vrabel came back into town. Drake May has come out of his shell, and Travion Henderson has come out of, I don't know where he was. He was in obscurity, but he had 3 touchdowns on Thursday night.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Let's take a look at a couple of narratives here and play a good game of fade or not fade. And first up, well, the idea that the Chiefs are going to put it all together and win the AFC West, well, that's absolutely gone. Absolute fade from this point on, Donnie, with the Chiefs. Their 10-year reign is over. It's done with.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
GameTime decisions. We are live on SportsGrid on a Monday night. Kevin Walsh with you here from the decisions desk as we've got plenty to make. We've got some action live. We'll talk about that momentarily, but I am sure many of you are ready to close out week number 12 in the NFL. We will do it in the Bay Area as the Niners host the Carolina Panthers, a number that has been moving around. Some 7s out there, some 7.5s out there. That hook can always be valuable. Nice total here on this Monday night, checking in at 49.5 anywhere you look. Where are the eyes starting to lead you in this football game? Well, on the San Francisco side, they do have Brock Purdy back under center as he was last week against Arizona, a 41-point performance for the San Francisco 49ers, has them feeling good. And ultimately for the Niners, with this schedule, they have to take advantage of spots like this and continue to stack wins if they want any chance to keep the NFC West title within grasp, and we'll talk about why that is going to be a difficult thing to do. I am sure many of you, I am with you in this boat, look towards Christian McCaffrey. I don't know if a revenge game would be an appropriate description. What does McCaffrey have to be upset about? He is going to potentially go down as a 49er legend, a trip to the Super Bowl, an offensive player of the year. But I'm sure still McCaffrey will have a little bit of extra juice heading into this game going up against the Carolina Panthers. Speaking of the awards market, the Carolina Panthers all of a sudden, don't look now, have themselves an award market favorite. Tat McMillan on the move. We'll get into that a little bit as well. But for Carolina, this is not just about their status right now with awards. It's about the NFC South, a division that all of a sudden Carolina could take first place of. With a win here, an upset, it'll be hard to come by, but an upset of the Niners would actually put the Panthers out in front because at 6-5, they are even with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who lost on Sunday night to the new Super Bowl favorite. The LA Rams, standalone style, at the top of the Super Bowl market as they saw some of their contemporaries, Indianapolis and Philly, drop games. The Rams didn't just win, They dominated. They covered both sides of the football. They tallied 4 total sacks. Stafford with another 3 passing touchdown game. 2 of those go to Devontae Adams. And it's a Rams team that has a clean case right now as the best in football. No arguments from me to position them as the favorite. The question becomes, should this number be shorter, or can this Rams team still be beat throughout this NFC playoff picture? One of the teams, though, that would be a contender to do that, who might have the Rams number, is going to have to start to play a little bit better. That would be the Philadelphia Eagles. Some movement around Philly as they blew a 21-0 lead against the Cowboys. 24 unanswered for Dallas secures them a spot back at 500, 5-5-1 on the year for the Cowboys. The Eagles' issues on the offensive side of the ball persist. The blame, though, I feel like starting to trend away from the easy target in Jalen Hurts, perhaps a little more on the reigning offensive player of the year, Saquon Barkley, perhaps a little bit more on a coaching staff that is all of a sudden looking a little in over its head, which should be impossible off of a Super Bowl, but it is where things stand right now in Philadelphia. How concerned should the Eagles be? We can talk about that. We can talk about buying Dallas or selling who will be playing on Thanksgiving against the Kansas City Chiefs. And Kansas City is coming off of their most important victory of the season. It comes against the AFC favorite, Indianapolis Colts, a changing AFC market. You have right now 6 teams between plus 480 and plus 600, but it is the Colts at the top of that market. And I will just say this. It is one of the worst pieces of booking we have seen throughout this NFL season. I know we can get mad at the margins. They're not runaway out in front of anybody else. How do you justify the Indianapolis Colts as AFC favorites? They are the shortest division favorite in the entire conference. They project as home dogs if they play a Mahomes, a Lamar, a Josh Allen. And they project as having to go on the road to a New England or Denver. The Colts all of a sudden are nowhere near as short a price to be the top seed as the Patriots and the Broncos. I ask you once again, what are we doing with the Indianapolis Colts off a hard-fought overtime loss to the Kansas City Chiefs as the favorites right now? A little bit puzzling. Where else may you be looking here on a Monday night? Well, the college basketball world is giving you plenty of options. Live right now is a 77-74 game between 2 top 15 teams in the country. The Cyclones up 3 on St. John's. Again, under 4 minutes to go in that basketball game. Iowa State closed as a slight favorite. This game, unless the scoring stops right now, and this game ends 77-74 basically, will be flying through its pre-game total. I did play a little St. John's team total. I did play an under in Houston-Syracuse, which is live right now, trending slightly over. That due to a great start for the Syracuse Orange. Really both of these teams getting hot from beyond the arc, but it's Syracuse at the under 8 timeout with a 23-20 lead over the number 3 team in the country, Houston Cougars. Still a lot of big games to come. We are into the time of the year where you get some great tournaments here. You've got Auburn and Oregon still to come. You've got Michigan late night against San Diego State. Your best game still remaining is going to be Alabama and Gonzaga, 2 of the 12 best teams in college basketball. But Gonzaga knocking not just on the door of that top 10. Gonzaga is a good performance here away at the Players Era Festival from having a case to be the number 1 team in college basketball, to being the number 1 team when that latest set of AP rankings come out. Gonzaga becoming a darling early season of the metrics. That's where things check in. If you're not betting the NFL, if you're not betting the college hoops, what do you say about the NBA slate tonight? a lot of options here all of a sudden for the NBA on this Monday night. Not the prettiest slate on the board right now. You do have a streaking Pistons team, 12 straight wins, putting that on the line as big favorites in Indiana against a reversed record, Indiana Pacers at 2-14. That is 9.5. Battle in New York as Brooklyn hosts the Knicks. The Knicks right now a 13.5-point favorite in that game. All eyes potentially in the NBA could be on Phoenix and Houston. A trending Suns team right now, pretty hot all in all. They're 11-6 on the season. Host a Rockets team who have looked their worst against the best teams in the league. This is a team who can't seemingly play cup basketball. Not great as somebody who bet them to win the NBA Cup. They will also be without Kevin Durant right now. KD will be missing his first action of the season for personal reasons. It's actually going to keep KD out 2 games. Whenever it says personal, you do not want to speculate. I will just say interesting that the games missed are at Phoenix and at Golden State. Obviously, 2 teams Kevin Durant heavily connected to. Some options on the ice tonight. You have the Tampa Bay Lightning hosting the Flyers, and a little bit later on tonight, you'll see the Kings hosting the Ottawa Senators. We get into Monday Night Football after the break. Right here, it's Game Time Decisions on SportsGrid.
The future of the prediction markets, I think, at least for now, may be in the hands of the federal courts. But the good news for those who support prediction markets is that these court battles may last for another 2 to 3 years before we get clarity around the law. And nominee Seelig was handpicked by Donald Trump, not because he was neutral on prediction markets, but because he would do nothing to slow it down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
A huge number out there on Cason Wallace to win Defensive Player of the Year at 500 to 1. That is worth your attention. And a number that I talked about before the season that I still think should be lower is Mark Daigneault to win Coach of the Year at 11 to 1 in the NBA. If they win 70, he's a lock for top 3. If they win 73, it's his.
Game Time Decisions, only on SportsGrid.
What are those things called?
A shooting star.
Yeah, okay, I'll go with that one. Like it just burns up quick. And you love it while you can see it, and bing, it's gone in the blink of an eye.
Right.
That's my fear for Cam Scatterby.
Yeah, and that's not a big deal, but I will say it's weird, and it seems like he really enjoys that attention, which is all fine because he's a young guy.
Yeah.
But possibly dangerous in a city like New York.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Close to $1 million in volume being traded right now in the Offensive Player of the Year. If you did put $100 down on Jonathan Taylor, that would pay back $143, so a 43% increase on your money that you had. There are a lot of long shots in here, but it doesn't feel like those would be good bets. Like, hey, I'm going to put it on Justin Herbert. Well, yeah, if Justin Herbert wins it, Joe, a $100 wager would pay back $10,000. They even have a market for if you want to bet Malik Neighbors.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions we look towards. Monday Night Football, an NFC battle between the Niners and the Panthers. 49.5 the total anywhere you look. Key number, though, landing 7 anywhere, nothing lower, but some higher. 7.5's out there as well, widely available. Not all too expensive, really, if you want to play the 7 and a hook. You can lay 7, though, if you want to just keep it a touchdown with San Francisco. So as you work through this football game here, as far as a side goes, once this hit 7, I knew it wasn't going to be a play for me. I actually leaned towards the Niners. I think Carolina had themselves a very fun game against Atlanta. I'm rooting on Bryce Young. So to all of a sudden become the Carolina Panthers single game most passing yards record holder, it's cool. 3 passing touchdowns, you love it. But the setup of it all for Carolina was getting smashed by a Falcons team, and if not for an injury to Michael Penix, you very well may have just been ran off the field in that game. Again, you get the job done in overtime. You give Carolina credit, but now you're coming off a tough divisional matchup where you get the win in OT and you have to go west to play the Niners. I don't love the spot for Carolina. I see why this number is continuing to move the direction in which it is. For the Niners, this feels like different territory, really. They are so injured still, but they have been way... I don't know. This is the healthiest the Niners have probably been in a little bit. We haven't seen a lot of big numbers for the Niners. They had a road game against the Saints, pair it to being the road, and that was the first Mac Jones start. That wasn't a big number. They had a home game against Atlanta. The Falcons were coming off of beating Buffalo. So you ended up with a big-time number actually in that game on Atlanta because you also had the Fred Warner injury, I think, the game prior against Tampa Bay. This team went to New York, played the Giants. That was a 2.5-point spread. So this is by far and away the biggest number this season we have seen San Francisco lay. It's not to say they've not been able to get up and, run teams, and certainly historically they've been capable of that, but I wasn't excited to get involved or too enticed to get involved on this side, nor really this total, though I think a 49.5, if you were looking for the props market, if you're looking to back certain players, get through some numbers there, okay, there could be scoring in this game tonight. With the Niners-Panthers game, the eyes are drawn to Christian McCaffrey. How could they not be? CMC has been incredible this year. He actually has still more receiving yards than rushing yards. He has been a workhorse's workhorse for San Francisco. And now they play, I think, a pretty vulnerable run defense in Carolina. They're down 2 linebackers in this matchup, and they have now, over their last 4 games, allowed a running back to have 80 or more yards in all 4 of those matchups. McCaffrey is coming off of his most efficient game on the ground of the season, just 13 carries against Arizona, but turned that into 81 yards. 6.2 yards per carry, had 2 rushing touchdowns, had 5 for 40 and a score through the air because, again, this is just what Christian McCaffrey does. I think CMC at 68.5 is a prime number. We could see the rushing attempt total start to flirt, right? We see that 16.5 number there. I think McCaffrey could find himself a little more efficient now that Brock Purdy's back. I know Mac Jones filled in admirably, but I think it's certainly on the board that teams are more threatened, right, by Brock Purdy than Mac Jones, especially because Brock Purdy is closer to playing with a full deck. Brock Purdy's got Kittle fully back, Pearsall back, Jennings back. Mac Jones was playing occasionally with none of those 3 guys, and certainly, maybe once, if never actually played with that trio. I think it opens things up for McCaffrey. I think it's 68.5 in a spot where they're a 7-point favorite. You have, game script potentially favoring. You've got narrative built in against Carolina. I really like the setup here for Christian McCaffrey to get on the ground. Let's not be scared to put the best bets from our team here on the board as well. Chris has got both teams to score 20+ at -106. It's close to a Panther team total that you could find, but it pairs in a 7-point favorite and gets you a flat 20 there. It's a bit of a better number. I don't mind that look. Panthers sack team total under 1.5 at +135. Is how Sam's going to play that. Brock Purdy, in his first game back, only sacked once, only threw it 26 times. So you got to imagine Purdy, maybe not 100% healthy, quick to get the football out, plenty of groundwork there. You see the angle at +135. AJ goes to the college basketball world and lays 4.5 with Gonzaga. I don't mind that look. I am looking towards Gonzaga in the game as well. I actually, though, felt the 4.5. I don't expect it to factor in, but I didn't think I was getting a cheap number on the Zags. I took their money line and did play it with McCaffrey for an anytime touchdown. CMC should score in this game. He scores in so many, but Carolina this year has actually allowed as many rushing touchdowns as receiving. So I think it sets up for McCaffrey on the ground to find the end zone, which you will find featured into the primetime producer parlay, but early. Chris is going to go for McCaffrey in the first half, minus 125, a creative way to get a cheaper number on McCaffrey to find the end zone. Worst case, if you don't get it, you could certainly look live at whatever the McCaffrey anytime number would be at the break, but I think you can get that one pretty early. Panthers plus 14.5, so a pseudo teaser almost factoring in to this. And then it's one of the more unique parlays they've put together here, all completely different prices. Jatavion Sanders for 20-plus receiving on the Carolina side. Young tight end starting to break out a little bit. And as Bryce Young breaks out, it could, I think, perhaps make for just a more fruitful pass attack. Sanders last week was 4 for 22 in the receiving game. I'm sure some of the temptation there, 9 targets over the last 2 games. If Sanders is going to be able to catch 3, 4, 5 balls, he should be able to get you 20 yards at a plus price. I don't mind it. Altogether, they're going to get you plus 387. Let's update you on the college basketball slate. A big final basket to some in St. John's, Iowa State. We'll talk about it here.
The future of the prediction markets, I think, at least for now, may be in the hands of the federal courts. But the good news for those who support prediction markets is that these court battles may last for another 2 to 3 years before we get clarity around the law. And nominee Seelig was handpicked by Donald Trump, not because he was neutral on prediction markets, but because he would do nothing to slow it down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
A huge number out there on Cason Wallace to win Defensive Player of the Year at 500 to 1. That is worth your attention. And a number that I talked about before the season that I still think should be lower is Mark Daigneault to win Coach of the Year at 11 to 1 in the NBA. If they win 70, he's a lock for top 3. If they win 73, it's his.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
What are those things called?
A shooting star.
Yeah, okay, I'll go with that one. Like it just burns up quick, and you love it while you can see it, and bing, it's gone in the blink of an eye.
Right.
That's my fear for Cam Scatterby.
Yeah, and that's not a big deal, but I will say it's weird, and it seems like he really enjoys that attention, which is all fine because he's a young guy, but possibly dangerous in a city like New York.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Close to $1 million in volume being traded right now in the Offensive Player of the Year. If you did put $100 down on Jonathan Taylor, that would pay back $143, so a 43% increase on your money that you had. There are a lot of long shots in here, but it doesn't feel like those would be good bets. Like, hey, I'm going to put it on Justin Herbert. Well, yeah, if Justin Herbert wins it, Joe, a $100 wager would pay back $10,000. They even have a market for if you want to bet Malik Neighbors.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions back here on a Monday night. If you did bet St. John's, Iowa State, so I had Iowa State wins as a 2.5-point favorite. They do not cover. And it is one of those spots. I don't know how many of you out there said, oh, come on, it's a short number. If I like Iowa State, I'm going to lay it. And we're left with that. A meaningless missed 3 offensive rebound put back at the buzzer that cost you the cover. Or how many of you played St. John's and said, I'll just take the plus price. All in all, is this game really going to land 1 or 2? And then it does. I think it is I think it is one of those things where it is tough to know, what is the sweet spot? I was tweeting up a storm on Friday because I laid 3.5 with Wake Forest, or 2.5 with Wake Forest, win, no cover. I laid 3.5 with the Mavericks against the Pelicans, win, no cover. Played K-State money line, a 1.5 point underdog, lose, but cover. And you're like, wow. Like, what the, so is the idea, listen, just money lines, just sides. Sometimes those are the beats. I think sometimes you have to try and figure out, the spots of it all, right? I thought Wake would win big. I thought Dallas would win big. I thought K-State would win outright. Triple wrong, all close. It happens, right? I think on that same night, I took Miami plus the Miami Heat plus 2.5. Listen, who knows? Cup game, it could matter if they win the game by like 20. Instead of having a plus price, you have like a minus 112. Again, those are kind of the ebbs and flows of a better, especially as we work into a full onslaught basketball season. We've got great college basketball games going on right now. These early season tournaments have been awesome for years, and we're excited to be in the mix with these games. Again, I am in the mix right now with an under in Houston-Syracuse. I will say, I don't love the start, because it is right now trending up a little bit. Game maybe a tick faster than I want, but I know why this looks this way. Outlier three-point shooting. Syracuse started red hot. They're cold. They're ice. They're a little bit icier right now. Houston can't make layups mostly, but they're red hot from three. If the three-point shooting can slow down in this basketball game, this thing should crawl and land under a 142.5. Where else am I on the college basketball board tonight? I talked about it already with the Gonzaga money line, CMC anytime touchdown parlay. I did lay 3 with Auburn against Oregon. I think it's on the board that this Auburn team, turn the corner isn't the right phrase, but I think they can find something, right? Game number 1 against Bethune-Cookman. They're in overtime. It's an embarrassment, right? Bruce Pearl retires. His son takes over. And the first game of his tenure, right, there they are in overtime against Bethune-Cookman as a 25-point favorite. The next game they play Merrimack, smash, right? They follow that up by playing Wofford, smash. They then play Houston. This Houston team, right, as a 7.5-point dog. Not a home game, but a in-your-state game. And they nearly pull off the upset. They lost that basketball game by 1. They actually, had the basketball down 1 under 30 to try and actually win it. It was close, right? So I think Auburn, I'm not, and they follow that up by playing Jackson State. Look, I know this Jackson State team's not great, my goodness, but, Auburn absolutely destroyed that team. I think Auburn, sometimes early season you get groups who are, we're trying to work on something, or what's our motivation, right? I think Auburn had their season flip a little bit due to that opening game overtime matchup with Bethune-Cookman. And I think that changes the MO a little bit, if you will. I think they'll be laser focused here against Oregon. The one other big game from this play here that I didn't play, it's Michigan, San Diego State. I don't know where I'm at on this Wolverines group. I think they don't really either. That near upset that they took to Wake Forest, they win the game by 1 in overtime. They're tinkering with lineups. Yaxel Lendenborg is, supposed to be the guy. Weirdly didn't start for them in game number 1. You then look at the game against Middle Tennessee. He's everything they wanted, right, with a 25-12 as a starter. Then, Morris headed to the bench. I'm curious to see how Michigan looks. We're going to keep breaking down the entire slate with you right here. It's a Monday night. Tom Vecchio on deck on SportsGrid.
the future of the prediction markets, I think, at least for now, may be in the hands of the federal courts. But the good news for those who support prediction markets is that these court battles may last for another 2 to 3 years before we get clarity around the law. And nominee Seelig was handpicked by Donald Trump, not because he was neutral on prediction markets, but because he would do nothing to slow it down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
A huge number out there on Cason Wallace to win Defensive Player of the Year at 500 to 1. That is worth your attention. And a number that I talked about before the season that I still think should be lower is Mark Daigneault to win Coach of the Year at 11 to 1 in the NBA. If they win 70, he's a lock for top 3. If they win 73, it's his.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
What are those things called?
A shooting star.
Yeah, okay, I'll go with that one. Like it just burns up quick, and you love it while you can see it, and bing, it's gone in the blink of an eye.
Right.
That's my fear for Cam Scatterby.
Yeah, and that's not a big deal, but I will say it's weird, and it seems like he really enjoys that attention, which is all fine because he's a young guy, but possibly dangerous in a city like New York.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Close to $1 million in volume being traded right now in the Offensive Player of the Year. If you did put $100 down on Jonathan Taylor, that would pay back $143, so a 43% increase on your money that you had. There are a lot of long shots in here, but it doesn't feel like those would be good bets. Like, hey, I'm going to put it on Justin Herbert. Well, yeah, if Justin Herbert wins it, Joe, a $100 wager would pay back $10,000. They even have a market for if you want to bet Malik Neighbors.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions live on a Monday night. Kevin Walsh here, now joined by Tom Vecchio. Tom, great to see you. You guys can catch Tom across, of course, the SportsGrid Network. Did an excellent job last night with Sunday Night Football in-game live. And, Tom, I actually want to start there. We'll, of course, preview Monday Night Football. But that win for the Rams, along with, I guess, everything else that happened across the league, has positioned them now as standalone Super Bowl favorites. How do you feel about the Rams? I think you could almost argue being the first team to really grab that price, right? Like, Buffalo by a little, Philly by a little. But I feel as if the Rams really earned that number. What do you make of it?
I think it's appropriate for where we are now. Am I head over heels about the Rams? I wouldn't say I'm there yet, but I'm pointing in that direction. Ultimately, that's where I am. Can I say that they are a full step or 2 steps ahead of every other team? Probably not, but they are the leaders right now. Both things can be true. They are the best, but they're not miles ahead of everyone else, as we've seen in previous years. When Buffalo was out and running, the Ravens out and running, the Eagles, et cetera, they were steps ahead of other teams. I don't think it's really that case this year, but I am on the path to being they're the team this year.
I think what's tough for me with the Rams, I wish they had certain different games on this schedule, if you will, because they right now are incredible at dominating bad teams. And if you are not of the level, they will roll you up. A very concerning sign for Tampa Bay. I understand the health of it all, but that is concerning the way that all played out. What I do think is interesting, Tom, and you're alluding to it a little bit, when you look at their games against what would be labeled, contenders, right? They lose to Philly, close regardless. I know they could have won the game. The Niners game, they lose in overtime. I know they got them, they got the get back, but they split with them. The Seahawks is only 2. If you want to make a Texans case, for that defense, you could with week number 1. I think we see it similarly. The Rams are the rightful Super Bowl favorite. I think they are really the only team who has an argument for best in football. But they're definitely a beatable football team when the playoffs get underway.
They are, this is, again, something Brady and I were talking about last night. If you have the graphic for their upcoming schedule again, they have another very winnable set of games. Carolina, Arizona. Could they lose to one of Detroit or Seattle? I would say maybe more Seattle, especially at Seattle. Just split a division matchup. And then they end with the Falcons. Very possible they could lose that game against the Cardinals end the season just because their starters won't be playing because, they may have things locked up by that point. But we're talking about 4 more wins. So they may not be the most impressive wins, but at a certain point, they'll have home field, they'll have the bye, and they will be firing on all cylinders once the playoffs start. So even though the path to get here may not be the toughest, if they can slice apart teams, I don't know how many other teams can keep up with them in scoring. So if they can just put pedal to the metal, like they are going to score 30 points against anyone, basically.
So with that compliment, to the Rams, right? Not all prices are bad. But the Colts to win the AFC is bad. The Colts' status as AFC favorites is actually, I think, unjustifiable. And it's not, that they looked bad against Kansas City. At the end of the day, they were trying to hand the Chiefs a third straight loss in Arrowhead, and it was an overtime game. It's nothing to do with that. It's the Colts are the shortest division favorites in the conference. Yeah. It's that the Indianapolis Colts, I do not think would be booked as favorites if they play Mahomes, Allen, or Lamar. And I don't think the Colts look likely to host a Denver or New England. How are you the favorites in a conference when I don't see a path for them being favored in the second round of the playoffs if they're there?
It's a very good point, and I haven't been a Colts believer since the beginning of the season, and we're starting to see it with Daniel Jones over the past few weeks. A few more sacks, a few more turnovers, more fumbles. They aren't operating at that explosive efficiency that they were early in the season, and I saw some splits earlier today. I forget exactly the exact numbers, but just how much better they are at home compared to the road, and they struggle on the road, and that's where we see some of the offensive inefficiency creep up. So I would never bet on them at that price. Like if we have the odds for again, the Chargers are a far better bet. Like I would bet on the Chargers 10 times out of 10 before I bet on the Colts. I bet on the Ravens at an almost equal price, even though they won't have home field in any spot over the Colts. And I'm not saying I love those teams, but just betting on the Colts at that number is crazy to me.
Yeah, I actually think, you want to get down the board. That Texans group becomes really interesting because I think we all can agree what that defense is.
Oh, yeah.
At worst case, it's the third best defense in football. Very clean argument as the best in this league. And I think that is one of the interesting aspects of this Colts remaining schedule. Now, again, I am not saying the Colts are bad. I am not saying they're frauds. But they are not a class above anyone. And the path isn't really there for Indianapolis. 4 games left against Houston and Jacksonville. Look, Jacksonville's ridiculous, but they can find ways to win games because they're ridiculous. We just spoke highly of the Texans at Seattle and home against the Niners. Those are the 6 games left for the Colts. You look at their matchups against playoff projected teams. They lose to Kansas City, the Rams, Pittsburgh. They narrowly beat Denver. They smashed the Chargers. Again, that group is, I actually am not really enticed by betting the Chargers whatsoever. I get the point you were making. I think we have a situation, Tom, where the Colts are more likely to not win the AFC South than go out there and win the conference. I don't know how you're booked as the favorite. I do not really make sense of where their number is. One other big takeaway that people had for yesterday, though, I will say this, Tom, in all seriousness, I've not heard what much people have had to say around the Eagles' loss to Dallas yet. I know what I think of it. I got to do a show earlier today with Lisi. We got some thoughts from him. What did you make of the Philadelphia Eagles Dallas Cowboys game yesterday?
A bunch of things, honestly. The Dallas defense prior to the Raiders game, got an injection of just raw talent into the lineup with the trades and players coming back from injury, et cetera, et cetera. So, looking at the Dallas defense as we saw them earlier season, I think is incorrect to how we should be valuing them going forward. Was it the toughest test against the Raiders? No. Was it a tougher test against the Eagles? Yes. When it comes to the Eagles, you look great in these flashes, right? You look great in the first half, the first, quarter and a half, and you're putting up all these points. I want to see like a killer instinct. Go for the throw. Drop 30 on them. Drop 35 on them. And we haven't seen that from the Eagles at times this year, where they get up, they hold leads, and then it's like, Denver came back against them. Like, where is the go for the throat mentality that you're going to run teams over so Saquon can have 200 yards on the ground because he's just going to be a pure running game script? I want to see that from the Eagles. And whether it's the creative play calling, I don't know. I don't want to go as far as saying like everyone's at blame, but everyone deserves a piece of the blame. The percentages are very different. The play calling is vastly different compared to what Smith and Brown and Hurts are doing. I would say Hurts is probably low on the totem pole when it comes to where the blame lies. He doesn't deserve a whole lot of it, but there's some percentage of it that everyone has to account for. It just matters who it takes the most of it.
Yeah, and I think you hear from Tom, and again, not that Tom would be in any way a main culprit of this, but the people who have mind-numbingly justified, well, it's obviously Hurts' fault, which is, to me, a tell more than anything, have now been boxed in by yesterday's game. You cannot see. Jalen Hurts was the best player on the Eagles' offense in the game. In no way was that his fault. And
no, but in the season overall for the Eagles, like if we were allocating percentages, he deserves like 5% of the blame. Everyone else accounts for the other 95%. Like some of it comes down to him. And like I know the sack he took at the end of the fourth quarter, 2-minute warning-ish area, like that was bad, right? That's just objectively bad. But in the season overall, he deserves like 5% of the blame.
Yeah, I think the other element, and I promise I'm willing to give Dallas credit. From a betting perspective, I would be cautious that defense has turned a corner because the Eagles' rushing game is terrible. Passing-wise, you did still see Dallas lit up. We're going to talk Monday Night Football with Tom after the break.
The future of the prediction markets, I think, at least for now, may be in the hands of the federal courts. But the good news for those who support prediction markets is that these court battles may last for another 2 to 3 years before we get clarity around the law. And nominee Seelig was handpicked by Donald Trump, not because he was neutral on prediction markets, but because he would do nothing to slow it down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
A huge number out there on Cason Wallace to win Defensive Player of the Year at 500 to 1. That is worth your attention. And a number that I talked about before the season that I still think should be lower is Mark Daigneault to win Coach of the Year at 11 to 1 in the NBA. If they win 70, he's a lock for top 3. If they win 73, it's his.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
What are those things called?
A shooting star.
Yeah, okay, I'll go with that one. Like it just burns up quick, and you love it while you can see it, and bing, it's gone in the blink of an eye.
Right.
That's my fear for Cam Scatterby.
Yeah, and that's not a big deal, but I will say it's weird, and it seems like he really enjoys that attention, which is all fine because he's a young guy.
Yeah.
But possibly dangerous in a city like New York.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Close to $1 million in volume being traded right now in the Offensive Player of the Year. If you did put $100 down on Jonathan Taylor, that would pay back $143, so a 43% increase on your money that you had. There are a lot of long shots in here, but it doesn't feel like those would be good bets. Like, hey, I'm going to put it on Justin Herbert. Well, yeah, if Justin Herbert wins it, Joe, a $100 wager would pay back $10,000. They even have a market for if you want to bet Malik Neighbors.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, Game Time Decisions here with you on a Monday night. We're joined by Tom Vecchio. Tom does an excellent job here, of course, across the SportsGrid network, including a primetime game yesterday with some in-game live. We've got a primetime game tonight between the Niners and the Panthers. Tom, we'll get your picks in a moment. I just want to ask you what you make of the 7.5 point line. It's pretty much an even split of which books are hanging the hook and which books are not. What do you make of the spread, whether you're betting it or not in this game?
I think it's accurate. If you can get the 7.5, I would say I think that's the right side, but I'm not sold on it. And, part of it comes down to the fact that I'm not a believer in the Panthers. I think they are worse than their record indicates. We often see a lot of people say, like, oh, this team is better than their record indicates. I think it's the opposite for the Panthers. The teams that they have beaten, isn't really impressive. Bryce Young does not look good at times. I know he's coming off a huge game, but that's really just the only other huge game he's had this year was against the Cardinals earlier in the season. So there's nothing drawing me to betting on the Panthers. And I know the 49ers defense isn't amazing, but the 49ers are back at full health on offense. And I frankly think the 49ers can drop 30 or 40 points on anyone. I don't know if the Panthers can keep up at a certain point. Bryce Young is just not a quarterback that can go toe-to-toe with a competent offense on the other side.
I want to ask you this question, Tom. I know it's a little on the spot, but I'm going to put it in brackets, okay? If I were looking for you to give me a range of how good the Niners are relative to the rest of the league, 1 to 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 16, bottom half of the league, where do you think you would land on San Francisco?
It's top half. It's not at the bottom portion of the top half, but it's like that 9 to 13 range kind of thing.
Okay.
And I think that's fair, where I don't think that they are the best team in the league. Obviously, they're not in the top tier. They're not in that second tier. They're probably at the start of that third tier. And I do think this is potentially a buy low spot in them, that they are fully healthy now. They have their receivers back. They have Purdy back. If they can push things forward, we will see a lot of public money on them. At least that's just my anticipation.
I am so curious if this team, I know this is going to sound lofty, can run the table.
And
the remaining games, home against Carolina, we see the number tonight. They are then at Cleveland. That number it's out, it's available, it's a tick under a touchdown. Then they have a bye week into hosting the Titans. That's a lot, probably. At Indianapolis, I actually think as of today they'd be booked as a dog in the game. And then home against the Bears and home against the Seahawks. I am not banging the table telling you that they are going to win out. But Tom, it's on the board. They did get a split with the Rams. I do think, to pull back to our initial conversation about the Rams, it is interesting. That team is going to need, and look, they're probably favored to get 13 wins, but they might need 14 wins to win that NFC West.
So, again, this is why I said it's a bit of a buy low spot. We could see them rattling off 3 wins, right? These are 3 very winnable games for them. Yeah. If the line for Indy, let's call Indy at home 2.5-point favorites, right? That's a winnable game for them there.
Yeah.
And again, I think their odds, what they're going to say, 30-1 for the Super Bowl or whatever it is for the NFC. This is the time to buy in now, because, again, I'm not saying that they're going to be deserving of 10-1, but if all of a sudden in 3 or 4 weeks with the bye, their record is 3 or 4 wins better, they're going to take that money. That's going to force their number down. And I think that this would be the time to get in on the 49ers.
Yeah, I find it interesting from that perspective as well. Tom, what do you like here, though, in this game tonight? What's actually standing out to you?
2 things. One, Ricky Pearsall over 19.5 for his longest reception. He's back after last week. It was an extremely quiet game for him. That doesn't matter. We look throughout the season, at least this year, he has a 15.2 ADOT average at the target. He's their downfield option. Kittle and McCaffrey operate underneath. Pearsall gets deep open in the field because the defense is worried about McCaffrey and Kittle. No surprise, we look back to last year. Pearsall was their deep ball guy. And I also like the first half under 25.5. That is a very unusual line that we see. It's normally 23.5 or 24.5. 25.5 is a lot. 3 touchdowns, Kev, and a field goal doesn't even get us to that mark. You need 3 touchdowns and 2 field goals or 4 touchdowns to get us over 25.5. the offense for the Panthers is not as good as this recent game. And I know a lot of people are going to look back and say Bryce Young threw for 400 yards. And in this most recent game for the 49ers, Jacoby Brissett threw for 400 yards. It has to be a Bryce Young spot. Bryce Young has only thrown for over 200 yards in 2 games this season, both of which went to overtime. The Panthers are operating with a 54 pass play percentage right now. They're not looking in this game to get into a shootout when they are on the road against a heavy favorite that has a significantly better offense than them. This is a low-scoring game if the Panthers want to win it, which I just don't think is going to happen.
Pearsall's a really interesting look. I would have never guessed, seeing box score to snap count, that would be the case. 75% of the snaps he played last week, exact same number as Jawan Jennings.
So here's what happened. We've got to remember that game started off with a fumble by the Cardinals. McCaffrey ran in a 1 or 2 yard touchdown, right, 10 seconds into the game. Then the Cardinals on a full passing game script. He played 75% of snaps, which is the most important thing to me. Whether they're 2 targets, 10 targets, obviously no production out of him. The 1 catch, whatever it was, is nothing. But he's back, and it's just time to get him acclimated back into the offense. This is how the 49ers are at the full strength. When you have Jennings and Pearsall and Kittle and McCaffrey firing, no defense can cover all of those players. So it just needs to be a Pearsall game to get the mojo going.
It's interesting. I was hoping, and I obviously silly of me, I was hoping maybe they had the receptions prop at 2.5. But
is it 3?
It's 3.5. But it gives you an idea. But Tom, I think it shows why that long reception number makes sense for you, right? I don't have. I could probably do it quickly, but how often does Ricky Pearsall catch 3 grabs and not have a 20-yard catch? How many often does he have 4 catches and not have a 20-yard catch? I think it makes a lot of sense. I think it's a good look. Before we let you out of here, anything else tonight, NBA, NHL, that you looked at?
No, actually nothing on that front. Okay. Looking towards Thursday, all the NFL games on Thanksgiving, all unders. I'm thinking 2 of the 3 come through.
I don't know what the Thanksgiving version of the Grinch is, but that is Tom Vecchio, if I've ever heard it. We'll update you on the live board after the break on SportsGrid.
He's the fan favorite. They love talking about Stafford, the 38-year-old guy. He's the Super Bowl champ. We got the family. Any opportunity to pump McVay and Stafford as a team, they do that. They love this team. They love Aaron Donald, and rightfully so. Best defensive player, but they love to pump up Stafford.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at Duke, you got to look at Cam Boozer. 18 points. The Bruiser, I may call him. 18 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists. I know he shot the ball 1 of 4 from 3, but he's showing his ability to really be a different player than his dad. A little bit more dynamic, a little bit more athletic.
College Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Ashton Genty has been hit behind the line of scrimmage more than any player in the National Football League. Yep. So you just gave him the ball in the end zone. Do the math. How's that going to work out?
It's like what I said
earlier.
He got
hit behind the line of scrimmage. He got tackled in the end zone.
Yeah.
Oh, they're terrible. But the thing is, Brady, you draft offensive linemen before you draft a star running back. Like they went backwards.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Goff and Mahomes were never taken serious. Hurts won't be, even if they're the 1 seed. Jonathan Taylor plays running back. Stop. Mahomes lost the head-to-head to Josh. Can I confidently eliminate every single person booked behind Josh Allen to at least beat out Josh Allen? So I'm in a head-to-head with Stafford May?
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, Game Time Decisions is live on a Monday night. We do have some action live right now, including Houston and Syracuse. On the under at 142.5. Frustrating first half where these teams could not shoot from two, but were solid enough from three. And also there was just a million free throws. There were 35 free throws in the first half of that game. That's way too many free throws. Hopefully, though, that leads to a less foul-heavy, foul-called second half, and this game slows down to a Houston tempo and plays towards the under. The only other ranked team in action right now is Louisville, playing Eastern Michigan. They are up big time right now, 17-4. Though, again, very early into that basketball game. Some of the NBA slate has gotten underway. The Pacers and the Pistons, Detroit looking for a 13th straight win. I will say this. If you have played Mark Daigneault for Coach of the Year, as I have, time to start rooting against the Pistons. The Thunder look very ready to do their part. The Thunder to break the NBA regular season wins record is plus 880 on FanDuel. That is to stand alone. We all know 73, the record by the Warriors. The only other 70-win season is 72 by one of those MJ Bulls teams. Plus 880. On that same book, so not even line shopping, Daigneault to win Coach of the Year is plus 850. Now, I've said it. At 70, I think he's the favorite. At 72, I think he's a strong favorite. At 73, I'd be shocked if he didn't win it. At 74, it's curtains. He's got to win it. Maybe the caveat is the Pistons winning 70 games. My goodness, this team can't, they can't lose right now. Detroit at 14-2 is off to a start a little reminiscent of last year's Cavs, who won 64 games. 64 wins for the Pistons is a heck of a year. 60 wins for the Pistons is a heck of a year. And the Detroit Pistons to win 60 games isn't listed right now just because they're actually out there playing. They don't want to allow themselves to be vulnerable to injury. But you have to realize that the Knicks are at 51.5, right? Now, they're 9-6, but just where their present expectations were. I would assume the Pistons are still not favorites to win 60. Are they the favorites to be the 1 seed in the East? I don't know if we have those markets. No, we don't have those right now. But I just think rooting against the Pistons is where we need to be. I don't like the Raptors at 12-5. Don't scare me much. The 50-win Raptors, I don't think are a threat to a 74-win Thunder for Mark Daigneault. 17-17 right now. Speaking of the Raptors, they're playing the Cavs. They're at home for that basketball game. It has been an excellent start to the season, all in all, for Toronto. Still 2 to come at 7:30. It is the Knicks and the Heat on the road. New York laying 13.5. A Brooklyn team with 3 wins this season, all having come on the road, actually, looking for their first home win, playing a team in the Knicks who have only won once on the road this year, and I don't think have actually covered a road game just yet this season. And then you've got a 7:30 tip in Miami as the Heat are a 7.5-point favorite against Dallas. I will say, and this is unfortunate as somebody who played VJ Edgecombe to win Rookie of the Year, and it looked like the world was going to be his oyster. Not only has he dropped back as a Derek Queen popped up, Akan Knipple is actually a co-favorite with Cooper Flagg. But I think what we've seen throughout this season is the books. Sometimes I'll be hard on the books. That's a terrible number, right? We talk about the Colts. Give them credit for not moving off of Cooper Flagg, right? I thought at some point we would see Cooper 2-1, 3-1, 4-1 maybe. It was a slow start. They've been confident in the talent. I'm sure a lot of that is really more risk than anything. But Cooper Flagg, look, if you did a redraft, he goes first in 2 seconds. And I think there's still to some degree an idea that is going to win out. We're going to take a break here on SportsGrid on a Monday night. When we come back, due to a Thanksgiving slate, we talk some early lines with our guy, Brady Cannon, as well as Monday Night Football. That is next right here on SportsGrid.
Oh boy. This is not going to go away, folks. This betting scandal that involved Terry Rozier, that involved Jonte Porter last year, and then obviously with Chauncey Billups getting involved and stuff like that, this is not going away. This is not good. And this is not the end of this scandal.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
8 3-minute rounds. The gloves are 10 ounces. And Anthony Joshua weighs like 250 pounds. So I'm not really sure how this is going to end up happening. But this is one of those. Normally, I don't give credit to the Paul brothers. And, I give them credit for being great on social media and creating a lot of buzz for the sport. I give him credit for getting in the round with Anthony Joshua. This is not like a Mike Tyson fight when Tyson's 60 years old.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Let's take a look at a couple of narratives here and play a good game of fade or not fade. And first up, well, the idea that the Chiefs are going to put it all together and win the AFC West, well, that's absolutely gone. Absolute fade from this point on, Donnie, with the Chiefs. Their 10-year reign is over. It's done with.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
We're live on SportsGrid. It is game time decisions and a little scheduling update. We will be here with you on Thanksgiving to preview what looks to be excellent 3-set of games on that day. Tomorrow and Wednesday, my guy Mike Blewett will be holding it down right here on Game Time Decisions. But mix that all together, we made the call to Brady Cannon just a little bit earlier in the week to get some insight for what's to come, including tonight. Brady, how are you? We appreciate it.
Yeah, good to be here with you again. Monday, Tuesday, Friday. It doesn't matter, my friend.
I want to actually just start by some of the stuff that we saw this Sunday. And there was a game that you and I saw differently. And for a quarter plus, I've never been more right in my entire life. And then everything else was a total disaster between the Eagles and the Cowboys. But I want to ask this truly from someone who, does what you do on such a weekly basis of moving power ratings, moving numbers. How do you treat a game like Cowboys-Eagles?
Well, it feels like what we've kind of been saying for a few weeks now came to fruition. And that is, and I think a couple things kind of were displayed in that game. First of all, the Eagles offense has problems. I mean, if you look at their success rate, it's basically the same as it's in the same territory as the New York Jets right now, Kevin. And again, those are just stats. It's not a good operation on that side of the ball. Now there's questions about what is it, Patullo, the new offensive coordinator, I believe is his name, and that's kind of unfortunate. But obviously, those questions have to come up now because and that again, that was the proof in the pudding. Like, hey, not only did the offense not look that good, but the Eagles didn't again, find a way to win this game. They actually, really blew this game. I also think the other side of the equation, couple things. Brian Schottenheimer is proving to be having a pretty darn good year as his first year head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. The other thing is that defense is starting to improve. Overshown being back in that lineup and healthy has made a big difference. Quinnen Williams, that trade, that has made a difference. I mean, they shut out the Eagles in the second half. Now, I know we're talking about the Eagles' offensive problems, but the Dallas Cowboys, of all people, their defense to allow no points an entire half of football. So, this team's starting to come around, and I do give a lot of credit to Schottenheimer as well.
I think what's so interesting is Dallas, of course, on Thanksgiving, they're playing this spot now against Kansas City, where we know the Chiefs have an ability to put up gaudy numbers, but it's been a little rougher when you look at, the past couple of weeks of football. Kansas City, now, Colts have a solid defense. Denver has a great one. Buffalo, a little harder to excuse. The perception is certainly this Dallas defense is trending. It's a big total. Dallas is, of course, booked as a road favorite. Is that a game, Brady, that you have any early thoughts on for Thanksgiving?
I made it 3, and I don't know if I'm going to bet this game. I think it's really tough to figure out the situation for both of these teams. They both come off of big wins. You could possibly see a letdown for Dallas after, getting past the Philadelphia Eagles. They both have very difficult schedules upcoming. The Chiefs have like the Texans, and there's another tough one in there. I can't remember. And Dallas has, the Chargers, I believe. I believe the Chargers and the Texans. Dallas has like Detroit, and the Chargers are in there a few games down the road. They both have some real tough weeks ahead. And obviously last week was hard too. So now you're on a short week, difficult spot. I understand why people are grabbing the 3.5. We've seen it come to 3. That's what I made the number. I really don't think the Chiefs are very good. Even in that win over Indianapolis, which they did not cover, by the way, they were 3.5-point favorites in a lot of spots. They couldn't function in the red zone. They were turning the ball over. It was maybe the play in that Thanksgiving contest with Kansas City and Dallas will be the under, because the defense really won the football game for Kansas City and probably did for the Cowboys as well.
Yeah, again, that is a big-time total out there right now, between 51.5 and 52.5 with Dallas and Kansas City. The other big question.
Here's another big, Kevin, if you're thinking about playing the under, I would wait, because all the casual football fans on Thanksgiving are going to go, hey, let's have a few bets and have some fun. And what are those people going to do? Most likely bet over the total. So I would wait. You might see that thing get to 53.
I think one of the fascinating things is from that game, just to mention it early, is how the books handle CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, because I don't know. If there was a draft tomorrow, would I take Lamb or Pickens? I would take Lamb. On the year, though, Pickens has clearly been the better guy. It just has been. And if defenses are going to, then still stress Lamb, I'm curious if we see Pickens with the higher number than CeeDee when all those come available. Brady, I do want to ask you about Burrow. Now we know will be back against Baltimore. Such a odd spot, really, everything that played out with the game against, New England. We go from 8.5 to 6.5, close 7.5. It's a cover at really any number, all in all, then, for Cincinnati, which is at least, I guess, good. But this is going to be a full 7. What's kind of sticking with me, and I'm curious if this is a similar read for you. I know Baltimore's winning. They don't look like the usual Baltimore dominant Ravens we'd come accustomed to over prior regular seasons.
No, not at all. I mean, they're a very average, if not below average team in the red zone. And if you have Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, how are you below average in the red zone? That's ridiculous.
It's crazy.
And the defense has gotten a little better. We know Kyle Hamilton got a little banged up in the last game. I made this number 9.5, and that was figuring without Joe Burrow.
Okay.
Now, I see he's listed as probable. He hasn't been confirmed as the starter yet, has he?
I think he did an Instagram story, and I think the big reporter said this is enough to tell you he's playing. They've not named him the starter. I'll say this, Brady. If he doesn't play this week, someone's getting in trouble for whatever. You know what I mean? We're going to get another fine situation going on.
Because what I'm getting at, we thought he had a good chance to play this past week, and then at the last minute he didn't. It feels like the books are setting this number at 7 because they can kind of go either direction. If he's confirmed as a starter, they're going to drop it to 4.5 or 5 or whatever. If he's confirmed that he's out, they're going to move it back up to 9.5 or whatever. So it feels like purgatory here for the books with that 7. I don't think it would be 7 if Joe Burrow is confirmed as the starter. The problem is he doesn't have T. Higgins. He will have Jamar Chase, but Higgins is going to be out with a concussion, I imagine. So, you know, how many points is it really worth? What kind of chance does it really give you to win the game? I think the Ravens win it, but I don't know what the number is going to be right now.
To Brady's point, as far as I see it right now, there is 1 6.5 out there. So maybe that one place, you know, took a confident Burrow will be in bet, and that's where we close once, you know, there's full confidence in the market. I also think you know when we say, like, cute things, but it's not true. I was going to say, more importantly than Burrow being in, no, if Burrow's in, that's the most important thing. But important is if Kyle Hamilton plays in this game. Because there's a version of the Ravens defense that when they're unhealthy, they go from, okay, that's solid, to, oh, that's the worst defense in football. And they're playing probably the worst defense in football.
Is that a wash if you have no T. Higgins on one side and no Kyle Hamilton on the other? That's probably almost a wash, right?
I'd argue since Chase is playing, Hamilton's bigger.
Valuable.
I would say Hamilton's more valuable for me, but you know,
you can also. I don't necessarily disagree with you, but the defense can focus when there's just one real threat in Jamar Chase. But it doesn't seem to matter with Chase. Everybody in the building knows he's going to get the ball, and he still does like 17 times a game.
Absolutely true. We're going to take a break. When we get back with Brady, a couple of more questions for some of the early Week 13 lines, plus a couple of thoughts on what we've seen this line move around for Carolina and San Francisco. That's all next right here on SportsGrid.
Oh boy. This is not going to go away, folks. This betting scandal that involved Terry Rozier, that involved Jonte Porter last year, and then obviously with Chauncey Billups getting involved and stuff like that, this is not going away. This is not good. And this is not the end of this scandal.
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
8 3-minute rounds. The gloves are 10 ounces. And Anthony Joshua weighs like 250 pounds. So I'm not really sure how this is going to end up happening. But this is one of those. Normally, I don't give credit to the Paul brothers. And, I give them credit for being great on social media and creating a lot of buzz for the sport. I give him credit for getting in the round with Anthony Joshua. This is not like a Mike Tyson fight when Tyson's 60 years old.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Let's take a look at a couple of narratives here and play a good game of fade or not fade. And first up, well, the idea that the Chiefs are going to put it all together and win the AFC West, well, that's absolutely gone. Absolute fade from this point on, Donnie, with the Chiefs. Their 10-year reign is over. It's done with.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
All right, back at the right here on Sports Grid. I've got eyes on this Houston-Syracuse total. We're banking in threes. We're getting offensive rebounds on air balls. I'm not enjoying it, is what I'll say. But, hey, you got to know what you're doing when you're betting college basketball. And I mean, you got to know what you're getting yourself into. And it's ugly. It's ugly. It's a Houston-Syracuse game. We're joined by our guy, Brady Cannon. And, Brady, it is always great to get to talk to you about some upcoming numbers, but we actually tonight get the chance to get some thoughts from you on a game that's happening here tonight. So I want to just make sure that we do that. This between 7 or 7.5. I think it's interesting that I find that hook to be key. And, books are indecisive, if you will, right? There's as many 7.5s as there are 7s. What do you make of this game here tonight with Carolina? If they did pull off the upset, grabbing first place in the NFC South.
Yeah, that is, and I guess in the offseason, a lot of people had high hopes for this Carolina team, and I don't think it's really panned out exactly like everybody expected. I don't think this team is really as good as their record would say they are, or if they do, become, in first place of the division. It's kind of like the Chicago Bears. I don't think the Chicago Bears are necessarily better than the Packers or the Lions either. We'll see what they do against your Eagles on Friday. That'll be an interesting game. And I thought that line was interesting. The Eagles favored by 7 points. I mean, that kind of tells you what the odds makers think of the Bears. I think it's similar with Carolina. We were talking about it, an early line here before tonight's game. The Rams laying double digits on the road at Carolina. So I don't know if there's a ton of respect for these Panthers. Like I say, maybe punching above their weight a little bit. I do believe Canales is doing a good job. I think one thing, we've seen this number come down a little bit. This morning we saw it pop up to 50. Now there's even some 48.5s in the market. Neither of these teams play very good defense. So you could get a shootout as far as points tonight. Christian McCaffrey, you figure, against his former team. I don't know if that really matters anymore. That's been a while. That's a lot of water under the bridge in that regard. It does feel to me, though, that now Brock Purdy's back and Ricky Pearsall's back, and this offense is starting to get healthy again for San Francisco. And we saw what they did last week in Arizona. It feels like the stock is now pretty high. Oh, the Niners are back. Are they? They were outgained by Arizona last week. And I understand maybe Carolina's possibly inflated a little bit too, because they come off of a win, an upset victory over the Atlanta Falcons last week. But I feel 7.5 is a little high. And I actually took it, Kevin.
Okay.
And I wouldn't necessarily take 7. You can find 7.5 out there, I'm sure. This was a very weird week for me. And we talked last Tuesday. I had a lot of numbers that were way off. And my numbers actually came out, a few games above 500 as far as ones I was right and ones I was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I had a pretty decent week on what my number guesses were. And in this one, I made the Niners 3.5. And then when I crunch all the stats, it comes to 4. Now, again, Carolina might not be as good as their stats say, and maybe the Niners are a little better than their numbers say, but I think 7.5 is a little too heavy, my friend. I think and the last 4 times San Francisco's been on Monday night, they're 1-3 against the spread. It's not a big sample size, doesn't mean a whole lot, but it feels to me like people think the Niners are back and they're on prime time and they're just going to roll this team. I don't think so. I've been a 49er fan all my life. I have not seen them roll teams on a regular basis.
Brady, I really want to ask you, though, about a Week 13 game, because you had a reaction that maybe it was similar to kind of how I thought. I was stunned by the Eagles-Bears spread. Now, I don't know if that is because I was, low mentally just off of watching Philly blow the game to Dallas. But, look, I'll just, I'm not embarrassed. But I thought it was going to be like 4.5. I don't know if that's – yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that line tells me more about the Bears. Does that line say more to you about the Bears or the Eagles?
The Bears. Well, I mean, both. I mean, the bookmakers, I don't think the books are trying to protect against people betting the favorite, because I think the Bears will absolutely get some action as well. Not necessarily from sharp players, but, I think as far as, the recreational player, you're probably split here on popularity and who's going to take that bulk of the action. These are both big brand name teams that are going to garner some action from the general public. But I think it probably says more about the Bears that, you've got a division front runner in Philadelphia and a division front runner in Chicago, and yet the guy that leads the NFC East is favored by a touchdown at home. I was going to say on the road.
Yeah.
At home. So, I think basically that's telling you they're about 5.5 points better on a neutral field. Maybe it's a full 2-point home field advantage with a short week and all that stuff. Philadelphia, obviously in a bounce back situation. The tough thing about the Bears, and I was almost ready to bet against them this week with the Steelers. Glad I didn't, because obviously the Bears covered that one by the hook. But they just keep finding ways to win, and that's oftentimes the sign of a good team. Do I think they're really that good? No, they're awful against the run. They're awful against the pass. Philadelphia, we talk about the offensive struggles. If they can't run the ball against the Bears on Friday, then they really do have some issues.
Yeah, look, there's going to be some calls for Tanks Bigsby to get a little more work, and I'm not saying it's wrong. I will just add, I think...
Hit him with Barkley, hit him with Bigsby. I would just run it down their throat all day long. Hit him with Jalen Hurts, too. Get him involved.
I think there's a world, it is a vote of confidence a bit from the books around Philly, that not only are they a 7-point favorite, but also I actually think the Chiefs laying the same number against what is probably an upgraded Dallas team on Thanksgiving. I think you saw the books are like, no, we're not out on the Eagles. But I think it does, to Brady's point, say the Bears could be 11-0. What we've watched doesn't matter. 8-3, but a negative point differential is hard to come by. And
it's turnovers.
Yeah, the books are kind of
top team in the league. They have a massive turnover margin, and that's why they're winning games. But
100%. Brady,
that would regress.
Yeah, always great to check in with you early on in the week. Appreciate it. I won't speak to you. Make sure you have a happy Thanksgiving. We appreciate it as always. We're running up against the break here. We will get you best bets, your primetime producer parlay, everything you need after the break.
The future of the prediction markets, I think, at least for now, may be in the hands of the federal courts. But the good news for those who support prediction markets is that these court battles may last for another 2 to 3 years before we get clarity around the law. And nominee Seelig was handpicked by Donald Trump, not because he was neutral on prediction markets, but because he would do nothing to slow it down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
A huge number out there on Cason Wallace to win Defensive Player of the Year at 500-1. That is worth your attention. And a number that I talked about before the season that I still think should be lower is Mark Daigneault to win Coach of the Year at 11-1 in the NBA. If they win 70, he's a lock for top 3. If they win 73, it's his.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
What are those things called?
A shooting star.
Yeah, okay, I'll go with that one. Like, it just burns up quick. And you love it while you can see it, and bing, it's gone in the blink of an eye.
Right.
That's my fear for Cam Scatterby.
Yeah, and that's not a big deal, but I will say it's weird, and it seems like he really enjoys that attention, which is all fine because he's a young guy.
Yeah.
But possibly dangerous in a city like New York.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Close to $1 million in volume being traded right now in the Offensive Player of the Year. If you did put $100 down on Jonathan Taylor, that would pay back $143, so a 43% increase on your money that you had. There are a lot of long shots in here, but it doesn't feel like those would be good bets. Like, hey, I'm going to put it on Justin Herbert. Well, yeah, if Justin Herbert wins it, Joe, a $100 wager would pay back $10,000. They even have a market for if you want to bet Malik Neighbors.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Back at the right here on Sports Grid. Kevin Walsh on this Monday night. You've got In-Game Live coming up right here on Sports Grid, so make sure you are stay tuned as they will have full coverage of the San Francisco 49ers and the Carolina Panthers. I want to give you guys a little run through the live board just one more time here. We'll then set you up best bets, primetime producer parlay, all the goodies that you need heading into tonight. On the college basketball side of things right now, slowing down a bit in Syracuse, Houston. You need some of these, long, late-in shot clock threes to not fall. Emmanuel Sharp starting to get going here a little bit. Milos Uzan finally had his breakout game in this one, but we're going to see if we can get this under here right now between Houston and Syracuse. You do have Louisville up quite a bit on Eastern Michigan, though it's maybe going to be an Eastern Michigan first half cover, certainly an under, as that's a pretty low scoring start to a Louisville game. Oregon, Auburn, still to come at the Players Era Festival. I am involved with Auburn in that game at -3. I do think the Tigers can get themselves on a bit of an early season roll after the nightmare that was that overtime, albeit win, but still overtime game against Bethune-Cookman. You've got a double-ranked spot with Bama and Gonzaga. Really excited for this game. It'll feature in our best bet section. I am playing Gonzaga on the money line with McCaffrey for an anytime touchdown. It's a -104 parlay. I prefer the money line for the Zags just because I thought that Bama spread was a bounce too high. I'm not saying I'm getting great value, but I don't think you're getting great value on the CMC touchdown. I took them together at -104. I was happy enough to make that play. Michigan, San Diego State, your other game out there for the Players Era Festival, featuring a ranked team. You actually have plenty of late night hoops. If you're excited, if you're a big college hoops guy, you got Texas, Arizona State late. That Arizona State number is going to get tempting. It's up to 7.5, it looks like, on Texas. I may place the Sun Devils there. And then you got a late night for Sosito, Maryland, UNLV. That's a 2.5-point number for the Terps. A midnight tip between Maryland and UNLV. You want to talk about home court advantage. Making Maryland tip at midnight? That's interesting. Does that game have juice? $1.62.5 when you look at that total. Right now for the NHL, if you're looking to bet the ice tonight, 1-0 for the Lightning at the end of that first period against the Flyers. How about a high-scoring start in Jersey? Devils up 3-1 on Detroit. Rangers at home, they haven't scored. They trail the Blues 1-0, and then the Caps up 1-0 on the Blue Jackets. Still some good games to come, including the Panthers as a slight road favorite against Nashville. NBA-wise, you are underway now in 4 games. Early Dallas lead on Miami, tied up with the Nets and the Knicks. Those are lower scoring starts in those games. Up-tempo basketball between the Pacers and the Pistons. That one is a trend over right now. Around the same in terms of a high-paced start, but actually may not be high-paced enough with the Raptors and the Cavs. It's an 8-point Cleveland lead with under 4 minutes to go. Still some good games to come in the NBA. Tonight, arguably the best one will be the Suns and the Rockets. No Durant. We'll see what Alperen Şengün and Eamon Thompson have for Devin Booker and the squad. NFL tonight, it's the Niners, it's the Panthers. It should be a fun one. Your primetime producer parlay checks in at just under 4-1, all varying in terms of the juice, the approach here. AJ takes the plus money approach with Jatavion Sanders for 20-plus receiving. Sam takes the Panthers up to 14.5. This number's apparently moved to plus 444. Line shopping, odds boost. We'll never know. McCaffrey, first half touchdown, -125. That's how they'll close it out. Shop around, get the best of that parlay. Zags, -4.5. AJ, we mentioned it. He's going to lay it with Mark Few's group. They look great to start this season. A win here, and they'll be on their way to a top 5 spot in the next version of the AP poll, probably. Panthers under half a sack team total. 1.5. Some are pairing that with the Niners under 1.5 for a sack team total. Not a lot of Myles Garrett situations out there. Understandable. Both teams to score 20, -106. Not mad at it. This game could have juice, though the total all of a sudden looks like it's dropping on the way out. McCaffrey, 68.5 rushing yards. I like CMC a lot tonight. I like him on the ground. Carolina's down 2 starting linebackers. McCaffrey just had his most efficient rushing game of the season last week with Brock Purdy and all these weapons back. It tracks to me. The Panthers have allowed 4 consecutive starting running backs to go for 80-plus yards against them. I think McCaffrey makes it 5 in a row. I'll see you on Thanksgiving. In Game Live is next.